Hey everyone, welcome to another episode. It's time to wrap this mini-series up. What do you say? It's time that we go ahead and give you a couple more pointers, but go ahead and get you out there, adding value, sharing information, owning your seat, doing all the things that you need to do to get results and achieve executive success with speed. So let's go through this really quickly. Let's do a little recap. How do you generate executive success? Well, one of the key ways that you do it is that you own your seat, okay? You own your seat. How do you own your seat? Well, you use your voice. You've got to remember that as an executive, you're not a doer anymore, okay? It's one of the key distinctions. You're not a doer. You're a leader. And a leader influences and drives change through conversations and influence. That's why using your voice is one of the most critical key ways that you own your seat and essentially add value to the organization. All right, don't miss that distinction. I sort of jumped through that a little bit in earlier episodes because it's inherent to me, but I want to be very, very clear. How do you get executive success? You own your seat at the table. And how do you own that seat? What's the easiest, most successful way to do that? You use your voice. Because an executive leader influences and leads through others. They're not a doer. They're not an executor. They don't roll up their sleeves and go do things. That's not the role that you're in anymore. That's not what an executive does. Okay? So, if we're going to be successful and we're going to jump in and we're going to deliver executive level results and we're going to perform at least that solid performer level or higher as quickly as possible as a new executive, one of the key things that we've got to do as quickly as possible is own our seat. And we're going to do that by using our voice. Now, it's natural that we don't do that because it's a new role. There's a lot of new things that we've got to learn. We've always been the doer. We've never been a full leader. And so we're starting to doubt. Very natural. It happens to pretty much every executive that steps into the seat for the first time. Okay? So that's not new. And you're not alone. And it's not just you. All right? Understand that key thing, that key perspective. It's not just you. What you also have to understand is that you've got to draw on the years of experience and the knowledge and the judgment that you've developed over your career as a means of using your voice. As we talked about previously, your ability to go in and get executive success by owning your seat is already there. Yes, you're learning how to be a leader, but you don't need to learn the knowledge that you already have inside of you. You simply need to get out of your own way. And the way that you need to understand that and grasp this is the fact that you can own your seat and use your voice while also at the same time learning how to be an executive leader. Okay? It's not that you need to learn how to be an executive and then you own your seat. No, you've got to learn and own your seat at the same time if you're going to learn at a slow pace. Now, I can teach you how to learn and own your seat very, very quickly, but the majority of first-year executives, it takes 12 months to do that. So you cannot wait 12 months to own your seat. You won't have a seat available to you if you take the typical amount of time that an average first-year executive takes to generate consistent performance results, okay? You cannot take 12 months. You've got to step in and own this seat right now. All right, so know that the knowledge is within you. Remember last week we talked about looking for role models and modeling some behavior. We talked about looking internally and asking for feedback so that we can keep doing the things that are serving us and stop doing the things that aren't. That's one of the key things that you've got to do. 2 key things you've got to do in order to perfect your ability to use your voice, right? So now what I want you to do as we wrap this thing up, I'm going to give you one more thing that's going to help you be a top level executive, help you own your seat, use your voice, show up, and get executive success with speed, okay? What does that look like? What am I talking about? I'm talking about not just observing the role model. What I want you to do is you've got to get really good at being able to read a room and picking up on cues so that you really understand how to influence and negotiate as part of owning your seat. Okay? This is critically important. You've got to learn how to walk into that room and immediately get a sense for the feeling in there. Is it tense? Is it light? Is it fun? You know, how's this person feeling over here? It's very different. I'm watching their facial expressions. I'm watching their body language. I'm listening to their tone. It's very different than this person over here who's completely unengaged and, you know, he's busy on his phone and he couldn't care less. This person is very agitated and something is bothering them. This person over here is very distracted and doesn't seem to care. And so I've got to learn my audience because I need to know if I'm walking into a meeting and I've got to pitch an idea or I've got to influence that entire room, I have to know how to do that based on every person that's sitting in there. And I've got to know who I need to win over first, who I need to speak to probably prior to the meeting. I have to learn these key facets. That's a key tool that you've got to have in your toolbox to be able to own that seat and influence and use your voice effectively. And so what I want you to do, and you've got to grab the workbook because I put a sheet in there for you to be able to fill out. And it's a sheet where you put every person's name and you list the behavior and you talk about what does that behavior mean? When this person's doing this, this is how they're feeling, or this is how they're coming across, or this is what's going on with them, okay? Because once you identify each person's behaviors and their patterns and what that represents, you now have so much more power than anyone else in the room because you understand every person in there. And you know how to use that knowledge, not for bad, okay? You're not going to go in there and you're going to use it for evil. You're going to show up and use it to move the company forward, to help influence and drive the path of the business, which is what? It's why you're there in the first place. It's why you've shown up. It's why they gave you that seat, right? And I'm not going to say gave. Let me take that back. It's why you earned the seat because you earned it. But it's why you're there versus anyone else. Because your ability to drive change and have influence over the path of the organization. You've got to add value to the company so the company can add value to the customer. And the way that you add value is that you show up, you own your seat, use your voice. And the most effective way to do that is not only hone your skills, but understand what everyone else is doing outside of you so that you can use that knowledge to influence them and drive the change, or at least minimally, if nothing else, at least you'll understand when you do need to make a comment in the room and when maybe you need to hold back, because no matter what that comment is and how amazing it's going to be, no one is going to be receptive to it and you're going to end up being frustrated, right? So see the power there. See the power. You've got to own that seat. That's why you exist. Owning the seat means adding value. Okay? What's the key way to do that? Use your voice. What's another tool for your toolbox to empower you to achieve executive success, right? Which means you're performing at that executive level, the level that they expect you to perform in that new seat. What's another tool? It's understanding and being able to read the room, read the people in the room, picking up on cues, and being able to influence based on your knowledge of the patterns of behavior that you see people displaying around you. It's critical. So again, grab the workbook to help you with this very last step. If you're ready to achieve executive success and get consistent performance in your new role in 60 days, right? 2 months instead of 12 months, join the next cohort. We would love to have you. As always, go and be legendary.